For regular videos on ancient cultures and forgotten civilizations, please subscribe. If you would like to support the channel and become part of our ancient history fan community, visit patreon.com/World of Antiquity. In this video, we're going to talk about our top 10 topes,
or speed bumps,
right, from our trip to the Yucatan. And these are things that we encountered that didn't go quite so well or as planned. And we wanted to share them with you because we thought that maybe through our experiences you could learn something and maybe avoid some of the same problems. And we'll offer some recommendations as to how to avoid them when we can. Welcome to the Antiquities Travel Guide. Follow us to different countries as we search for ancient artifacts. If you too wish to explore the ancient past through travel, we'll help you plan where to go, what to see, and how best to enjoy what you encounter. In this series of the ATG, you can accompany Cassie and me on our trek through the Yucatan Peninsula, homeland of the ancient Maya. Come on, let's go. So, we're going to go from number 10 to number 1. So, from bad but not so bad to just bad. All right. So, number 10. Rental cars and their pricing, to be precise. Oh, yes. It never is going to be what you think it's going to be. Not only did I have difficulties in booking these because we wanted to travel from Mexico to Belize in a rental car and they wouldn't let us. And then I found out that one car company would let you do it until I actually found out that at that particular location they wouldn't. So we just couldn't do that and we had to end up getting 2 rental cars, one for Mexico, one for Belize. And had to find a way across the border. We got a shuttle. And then that car in Belize wasn't ready from that company. We had to get it from a different company. Plus, the original rental in Mexico near the airport, it wasn't exactly the price that they said online that it was going to be.
So both were different, right? The one at the airport in Merida and then also in Belize.
Right, yes. Well,
because we had two different cars.
Right. The first rental car company, because they couldn't do it, they passed us on to another rental car company who had a different pricing, right? So didn't expect that because they didn't have a car. And then this one in Merida, it was hard to communicate because they didn't speak English. So, it's hard to complain, but they're just pointing at the number, and that's what it is.
Gotta take it. Yeah. So what's your recommendation for that? Shop around more ahead of time, have 2 options.
Yeah, or just get all the particulars you can ahead of time on the phone if you can find someone who speaks English, instead of just doing it all online and it's all digital and you're like, oh, that's what it says, and talk to somebody, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, number 9, one of the places that we stayed at, which was in San Ignacio in Belize, was called Midas Resort, and this place was great.
Yeah, they had a pool and a bar and a nice restaurant.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun after our day out. We were all sweaty and we got in the pool and we had drinks at the bar, and then we went to take a shower and realized that there's no hot water. I think I had it running for like 15 minutes.
At first they were saying like, well, just let it run. It'll
let
get
it
hot.
Run. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm wasting a lot of water here and it's not getting hot. And it never got hot. It was supposed to take 5 or 10 minutes, they said, but right. Yeah, it never got hot.
Yeah, and then we came back later, and it still wasn't fixed. They said it had gotten fixed, and then it still wasn't fixed. So then they were like, well, would you mind taking a shower in somebody else's room? So we did, right?
Yeah, you went first.
And my shower was hot for half the shower.
Yeah, which is how long, like 3 minutes or something?
Yeah. Well, about 5 minutes. Did you take also?
So that was unpleasant.
Then they switched you into a different room.
They put me in a whole other room, I think, because that one wasn't really working either. So anyway, the point being...
not that we're not saying, oh, they're a terrible hotel.
Right. It was just unexpected and unpleasant, especially because after a hot day,
they're doing the best
you want to take a shower.
Right.
So expect that's a possibility.
Unexpected things like that could happen. Yeah, we're not like in areas that where the technology is and infrastructure is really solid,
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to rough it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, number 8. Well, maybe I should let you do that one because
I was affected by this one the most. The fire ants and other bug bites and the sunburn. Just all of the elemental kind of things.
There are bugs galore. Yeah. And we went in the less buggy season, right? If we would have gone like in the spring, oh my gosh.
Right, because we were there in December.
Yeah.
And yeah, it wasn't even that bad, but it was still very jungly. Yeah.
Yeah, and she attracts the bugs more than I do.
At any given time, I had at least 30 bites.
Although I did step on some fire ants, and they started biting my foot.
So did I. Yeah. What were we
My
at?
ankle.
Was it caracol?
I wish I could remember.
Because I remember I got out of the car and I was wearing flip-flops and I was like getting ready to put on my boots and just taking my time until I started getting bitten on my feet.
Yeah, and they, like fire ants, it's like, it hurts, man.
They're really bad. Well, you have them in Florida, too.
I do, yeah. And although I have them in my yard, I've never been bitten by them before.
That's lucky,
but I
'cause it
did here.
hurts.
Yeah. So what would you say is the best way to prepare for that?
Just know that you're going to get bitten and pray that you
Bring
don't
your
get
off,
bitten
you know,
as much as I did. Well, I mean, we used the bug spray too.
Yeah.
It didn't.
It worked on me.
Well,
most of the time.
It didn't really work on me though. And then for the sun protection, obviously wear a hat. I had a hat on, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, me too. All right, number 7. In Mexico, this doesn't apply to Belize because in Belize they speak English.
They do.
But in Mexico, has a little bit of Spanish.
Yo hablo poquito español.
I don't know any, and it was difficult sometimes to communicate. Wouldn't you say the language barrier was a bit tough?
Yeah, I was reaching for all the palabras I know because, yeah, I mean there was not much English access in Mexico in the Yucatan. In Belize, like you said, a lot of people do speak English, but yeah, I had to use all of my primitive Spanish.
She did a good job.
I tried.
I thought so. Americans, when they go to foreign countries, they're just like, well, everyone should know English, you know.
Right.
But some countries, they know English better than other countries. Mexico, at least this part of Mexico, almost nobody knew English.
Right. There was a kid, though, who kind of...
Yeah, there was a little kid at the pizza place in Spooheel.
He was pretty good.
And he says he was learning English in school. He did a good job.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just say, like, there are certain words that you should know. Things like la cuenta, when you're asking for the bill, you can say la cuenta por favor, stuff like that. You know, you can look up and see which words you need to know.
Number 6. This was something that happened mainly to me, but it could happen to you. And that is, at Uxmal, the very first day. For this trip, I purchased, for the first time I was all excited, a wireless microphone. You know, you can just wear it. You don't have any cord. You don't have to rely on the little boom mic. And I could just walk around with my Tascam. It was about $120 or something like that. And before I even used it, I lost it.
It was our first day?
It was our first day at Uxmal. She was shooting me, and we decided just to use the little boom mic attachment, and I just set it down. I was holding it, and I just set it down at the governor's palace. In fact, in the video, when I was looking at the video raws from the governor's palace, I saw it sitting there.
But you went back to look for it.
And it wasn't there.
Oh,
when I went back to look for it, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
So what I'm advising you is don't set anything down. Put it in your bag. Don't do what I did.
Don't lose your equipment.
Yeah. Don't think like, oh, I'm just going to put this on this rock over here.
Especially if it's something small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a loss. I still have to buy a new one.
So the next one, number 5, is the exit fees at the border. But I'll let you talk about this because I mean it was a surprise to both of us, but more you had to deal with it.
Well, I just didn't know they existed.
Yeah.
And maybe with a better research, I would have. We're letting you know. When you're crossing the border, either way. So if you're leaving Mexico to go to Belize, you have to pay a fee. It was about $25, 20 bucks. And then to leave Belize, it was $25, or maybe it was the other way around. But anyway, per person that we had to pay that we didn't even know we had to pay. And it was just like, sorry.
It
Plus,
seemed really arbitrary.
Yeah, I guess they do it to everybody. But it also cancels out. Remember, we fill out these little cards at the airport that basically gives us permission to stay a number of days in Mexico.
Yeah.
When you leave the country by land, if you came in by air, it cancels that.
Right.
And you have to do a new one when you come back into Mexico, which we had to wait in line for and fill out a new one.
And then the new one was only good for how many days? Like 5 days or 10 days or something?
It was like,
enough time for
6
us
days,
to...
or was it 6 days? Something like that.
Yeah.
It was enough time for us to finish our trip.
But beware of that because I think you have to pay after that again.
Yeah, we paid the exit fee from Belize.
Well, I mean, if we had stayed longer, we would have had
we'd
to
have to pay because we went
fee
past
to
the
leave.
time. Yeah. So that's how the government makes their money, I guess.
Yeah.
But you should know about it. Number 4.
Bad roads. This was more my problem than his. You handled these very well.
I had to drive, and it was stressful.
It was very stressful for me because the roads, especially...
She doesn't know what kind of a driver I am. You know, she's like, oh, man.
You did a good job. But especially in Belize, the roads were really, really bad. Like really rocky and bumpy, like off-roading kind of stuff.
Like almost all their roads. Like they have a few main highways paved, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Every other road is pretty much not paved.
And so in Belize they were worse because they were unpaved, but in Mexico they were paved. The biggest problem that we had in Mexico was the potholes, which some of the roads you couldn't go a foot without hitting a pothole.
Yeah, like if you went too fast, it would be kaboom, kaboom, right? So we had to go really slow on those parts.
So we were really worried about getting like a flat tire, getting stranded, because a lot of these places we were at, they were out in the middle of nowhere, and if you get stranded,
right,
you're in trouble.
Yeah, I know. Especially considering that, and we're going to come to this too, that sometimes we didn't have a signal. So pothole roads in Mexico and rocky dirt roads in Belize were a huge challenge.
So definitely have 4-wheel drive and just be prepared to drive slowly. Yeah.
We got a 4-wheel drive on both of our vehicles, and that's highly recommended.
But also that means that it might take you longer than what the GPS estimates.
Because we went slower, right?
Yeah, because you have to go slower.
Yeah.
But the GPS for some of the things said it would take like 2 hours, and it took us double that maybe.
A lot of times, yeah. At least in excess of 50% of what we thought.
Yeah.
Like another half on there or something. Yeah. Number 3 is something that mostly happened to you, but...
You got sick too.
A little bit, yeah. We're talking about getting sick. Now, what was funny is when we first got to Mexico, we ate our first meal there, and I'm like, hey,
everything was fine.
Mexico's fine. What are they talking about? You know?
I didn't get sick until like day 3 or 4, I think. Yeah.
And how would you describe it? It wasn't like full on like flu symptoms.
Not flu, but like I was just kind of dizzy and hot and like stomach problems, that kind of thing. Yeah. So. Yeah, it wasn't pleasant, and it lasted several days.
Right.
Into Belize.
It was almost like a low-level kind of like digestive kind of, right? Yeah. And I got that too, a few times. It's kind of off and on.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on where we ate.
Right.
I think.
So it's like you sort of get used to it, but then you don't.
Yeah.
But it was for a good portion of the trip, probably about half of the trip. I was like somewhat sick.
I tell you one thing. I brought some Imodium, popped one of those babies, and I was feeling fine.
I should have done that.
But then it went away after a while, right?
Well,
lasted about 4 or 5 days, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you were okay after that. Yeah. So
maybe
be
it's
wary.
just exposure. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe your gut has to get used to the bacteria. Number 2, and we're getting big here now. This is probably one of our biggest problems, and that was it was especially, well, actually it was the case almost everywhere, but especially in the middle of Mexico. In the touristy areas, it was fine, but in the middle, where we were for some time, no signal, no Wi-Fi. Well, first of all, no cellular, but also none of the places we stayed had decent Wi-Fi.
Right. Even though they advertised that
they claimed that they had Wi-Fi. Right.
Wi-Fi doesn't really work.
Yeah. Sometimes it will be in, but even when it's in, it's not working very fast, and then sometimes it's just out.
Yeah. I mean, if it's like you just need to browse your Facebook or whatever, I mean, who cares? But it was a big problem for us because we needed to back all of our footage up. Right.
My everything I shot on my iPhone, so it can only hold so much. So I relied on the iCloud, to back up all of my information. And first day or two, okay, but then once we got like down towards Edzna and then down near Calakmul and Shpuhil, all those areas, nothing. And I ran out of room on my phone, which resulted in me losing some footage.
Really
I lost footage at Calakmul.
Yeah.
From
when we were at the very top.
Yeah.
Some really good stuff.
I kind of hid this when I did the video, but I would have had some really great footage at the top of the pyramid, which I lost. Also some footage after that where some of the other buildings I lost. And a few other places that happened too. Now I did bring an extra drive to back it up. So I had to do that sometimes, but I had some difficulties even with that because I for some reason I couldn't figure out how to get it off my phone onto that drive, and also it was really slow for some reason. I finally got it working, but it took some time. So anyway, it was a big headache.
Technical issues in addition to not having Wi-Fi, and also just the iPhone. Like, I mean, because you thought that it was recording some of the time, and it didn't record. Even
When it's
though
out
it
of
looks
room,
like it
yeah.
was. Yeah, when it's
when
out
it's out
of
of room, it'll say, okay, it's recording. Okay, it's recording.
And then it'll just stop.
Right. Yeah, and then after it's done, you think you have it.
Or it doesn't save.
Yeah, and you look back and it's like not there.
Yeah.
I even had some videos that were there. I saw them, and then later they weren't there.
Yeah, that was really rough. We were both very sad about that.
So
that wasn't so much Mexico as iPhone.
It happened in England too, and I was like determined to avoid it this time, and I still didn't prepare well enough. Yeah. I just assumed we'd have some Wi-Fi. We didn't. So.
And then our number one issue that you got to watch out for is getting lost, and also just general GPS issues. Because the service out there, like he was saying, isn't great.
And not only that, the GPS is sometimes wrong.
Yeah, it would have us off the map. Even
Remember
though we're
when,
on the same road that we were on.
When we were going to Esna, this is when we got lost. The GPS said, "Oh, go this way onto this dirt road.
Right.
It's shorter." And I'm like, "Okay." And took it. 3 hours later, right? We ended up. The road got smaller and smaller and smaller until we were like, what was it?
It was like farmland, and we were like, I don't see anything out here. It's just fields, and
it was like the brush was like coming closer and closer. We're just like two tracks for tires, and that's it.
Yeah.
Where tractors would go.
It was so weird, and it was like a Sunday or something, so it was abandoned.
We were freaking out because it was starting to get dark.
Yeah.
And remember when you were looking at the GPS, it was showing us places to go that weren't even there.
Right. Yeah, it would say take this turn. We would take a turn, and there's like a big gate that would lock you from going any farther. Yeah, we had 2 of those. We ran into 2 different gates. So even though like the road may have been the right way to go, the gates were locked and we couldn't get through.
And sometimes it had roads on there that weren't roads, like they were just tracks, and then didn't have the roads that actually existed.
So that was tough. We lost a whole afternoon getting lost.
Yeah, we had to skip the next day. We had to skip Balamku. We were going to go there. We never went there. We went to Esna instead because we missed Esna that day.
But Esna was worth it because that ended up like in the top few slots for both of us. Yeah.
But see how your schedule might have to change if something like that happens. But I remember we were pretty freaked out. I was like at my wit's end. We didn't know what to do, and we finally just decided we have to go all the way because I kept trying to find a way through.
But this is like a 2-hour drive, and we had to decide. Okay, there is no shortcut.
Well, we
have
just
to
went
go
back.
the way
Went all the way back, and then we found out we could have just taken the main road, and it would have been fine.
So. Instead of this.
Yeah. So it was all for nothing. Yeah.
Oh, we learned a lot.
We did learn a lot, and now despite this video, it might sound like we had the most terrible time ever,
awesome.
But we had fun. We just thought you might be interested in, not only hearing about the good things, but also the not so good things.
Yeah. Disclaimer: the GPS might not work. There might not be Wi-Fi. You might run into surprise fees.
Yes.
There are bugs. It's sunny. It's hot.
But
Stuff like that.
Are you glad you went?
Of course.
See, it was still worth it all.
Yeah.
All the headaches. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be having some new travels coming up in the future, so stay tuned. If you want to learn more about the Maya and at the same time gaze at some gorgeous photography of Mayan ruins and artifacts, I recommend the book The Maya, Voices in Stone. I'll leave a link to it in the video notes. I post photos from our travels over on my Instagram, so head over to @DrMiano to see more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.